Another week of Ultimate Buckeyes coming at you next. And look who's back. Where were you at? Toledo?
I was at Toledo for a little action this week. Toledo whooped up on Central Michigan last night.
You enjoy these MAC games. Who's going to win the MAC? Is Toledo still one of the top dogs in the MAC?
So it's really crazy this year. The MAC has, going to last night, there were 6 teams that were vying for the a trip to the MAC championship. You had 4 teams at 4-1 in the conference, and then 2 teams at 3-2. Well, now you've got Bowling Green's at the top of the conference right now. Okay. And Toledo won last night. I did that game. So they're in the mix. I mean, it's going to be interesting. The final couple of weeks will determine. I think it's probably going to be between 2 of these 3 or 4 teams. I think it'll probably end up being Bowling Green will be one of them. I think Miami, Ohio, or Toledo is the second team that would get in, I think. Okay. But who knows? It's still sort of wide open. Western Michigan, I think, is on the outside now looking in. But I know our fans don't care a ton about MAC football, so we can talk a little Buckeyes football. We can talk about your trip to Eugene. Whatever you want, man. Eugene. And I am wearing Marshall today, by the way. Just
what's that podcast?
I did Marshall I had a Marshall game that I called 3-4 weeks ago, and I don't know. I like the shirt, so I got it.
I guess so. You're a trader. Anyways.
No, I have. So before we get to your stories, I've been starting this thing now where when I go do games in certain whatever stadium it is, I will buy a mini helmet from that stadium. So I'm getting a collection of all the stadiums that I've called games in.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I don't have every stadium, every helmet for every stadium I've called a game in, but like the last 2 years, I mean, every single week, like this is on my desk right now, who has a Sam Houston mini helmet? I do.
That's actually really cool. You know what? I should have did that for the Big Ten. If I'm going to all these different campuses, I should have did something.
Just go online and buy a mini helmet for what are there, 18 teams in the Big Ten now?
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't have nowhere to put it right now. I don't have nowhere to put that. Anyways,
I'm going to do a shelf down to my basement with all the helmets lining across like the stairs, walking down to the man cave.
It is going to finish with a big Ohio State one, right?
Oh, of course.
Okay, just making sure. All right, so let me tell you about Eugene. So the Eugene trip was great. First of all, we got to step it up from a facility standpoint. Oregon is I'm talking like Ohio State. We got to go ahead and cut some of these NIL deals and start putting some money towards some of these facilities because we are behind the 8 ball a lot. But
we should have seen what we had. We should have seen what we had when I played.
Yeah, you got a point there, but the Woody's outdated now, and it's unfortunate because it was such a great place. Well, it was
outdated now. Outdated now?
Yeah, it's Anyway, so that wasn't it. So I enjoyed.
You're blown away. You're blown away by the amount of money that Phil Knight puts into that university.
I am. Yeah, it's all wonderful. I see why people, because I talk to a lot of people that does like recruiting and stuff, and they say once a recruit comes here, it's done. And I got there and I was like, yeah, I see why. But anyways, so it was the trip coming home. All right, so I've been flying for quite some time now, and I've never experienced missing a flight. Never. Like I always made it. So after we get done with the tailgate show, it's like 8:30 Pacific time. My flight doesn't leave till 1:00 Pacific. 1:08 Pacific time. Anyway,
you're on a red eye.
No, 1 p.m. 1 p.m.
Hold on, you said this is 8:30 at night.
A.M.
Oh,
the show is from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m.
Eastern time.
No, Pacific.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you're okay.
That's 10 to 11.
So it's 11:30 Eastern.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Okay. So Anyway, so my flight is at 1:08. So I got a couple hours and blah, blah, blah. So I go back to the hotel. I watch the Purdue game, which we'll talk about here in a second. So I'm watching like the first half of that, get to about halftime, and then I head to the airport. I get there, I'm on time, right? The flight gets delayed. Okay. So when you go flight's getting delayed and you got to connect the flight, you always look like, okay, let's see how long this delay is. Let me make sure I can still make my connected flight.
Mm-hmm.
So he said it was going to be delayed 40 minutes. I had about an hour between my flight. But by the time I landed until the time the flight took off, so I had about an hour. It's like, okay, that's
so you can't. I mean, it's a tight window, but you can do it.
Yeah,
you can feasibly do it if everything goes as planned. Like if you take off
correct.
on time, land on time, you don't have you've got a gate to pull into.
Yes.
You can get off in a reasonable fashion. Like all those things are important. So okay. Now, so we know you have a tight window here.
Yeah.
Okay, tight window. And then tell me what had happened was
the delay. We didn't leave. We were supposed to leave we was at 1:08. We were supposed to leave at 1:40. We didn't leave till like 2:05. Okay, so
you're not making a connection.
So at this point, I'm about an hour late. So I'm with Mike Hall, who's the co-host of the Tailgate Show, and I'm explaining to him like, Mike, I'm calming him down like, Mike, you gonna be good. We gonna make it. His is at 5:40. Mine's at 5:45. We gonna be good. This is when I knew I wasn't going to make it, okay? So we pull it into the airport, and I see that my gate is at Terminal A. We are in Terminal B. I got 20 minutes to get there. I take off. I got the
full Home Alone running to the airport.
Carry on and everything rolling. I'm talking about Dustin. Get out of the way. All right, so
I got to tell you, buddy, I mean, I don't want to interrupt your story, but I'm to the point now in my life that unless I'm trying to get home for a funeral or a wedding or something vital for my kids, I'm not running through an airport.
Well,
I'm just not. I will gladly book another flight.
No,
but go ahead. So you're grinded.
I'm rolling. Everybody know what's going on. They get out the way because they see this big 6'3", 245-pound dude get out of the way. Okay, so this is when I realized that I should just give up. As I'm running, I didn't realize you had to take a train to get to A. So once I seen I had to take a train, I said, well, it's done. At this point, it's done.
And what airport are you in at this point?
Denver. I didn't know how big Denver's airport was. It's huge. Anyways, I get on the train. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I can't just give up. I got to at least sprint to the finish line. And this is a long run. I get there. It's like 5:38. Boarding is closed. The door is closed. And the plane is sitting right there. And that part gets you so upset because it's like, okay. Then they delay the flight 10 minutes while sitting right there. So that really made me upset.
They closed the door, right?
The door was already closed, but they delayed the flight while sitting right there. So I was mad about that. Then I go to rebook the flight. Next flight leaves at midnight. I had to go to Washington, then go to Columbus from there. So I didn't get home until 9:45 Sunday. But the good news is I didn't have the Browns. If I had the Browns, then I wouldn't have been able to do it because I got to be at the stadium at 10:30. So that was how my off day went. So yeah. So anyways, that was the story.
Well, you had something to get back for. You had the Browns to get back for, which I've been in that situation many times.
Well, I didn't this week, but because they was on a bye this past week. But
correct.
I'm saying,
but
if I did, I would have been screwed. Right. So yeah, that was my story. But anyways, enough about me. Let's talk about these Buckeyes. So they go out there and they blow the doors right off of Purdue. Dominant fashion. 45-0. We find the one thing that I wanted to see from Will Howard was I wanted to see him play a clean game. I thought just at points in time of this season, he always makes these throws that's just like, what the heck are you doing, right? And for the first time, he played a clean game. Now, don't get me wrong. I know everybody's like, well, it's Purdue. And you're right. It is Purdue. But I needed to see it on tape. And I thought that everybody was clicking on all cylinders. Love the play calling. Love Jeremiah Smith getting the record. Love Travion coming to life, getting some really tough runs in there. And from a defensive standpoint, I love the stunts and the schemes that they're doing, the twists that they're doing with the D line and some of these blitzers. It's becoming more effective. Do got my little concerns about some of the corners on the outside, but I'll say that for later. What you got?
They did absolutely, everything that they're supposed to do. A little slow to start the game, right? But in the end, I mean, I said the score was going to be 45-10, and it ended 45-0.
What did I say, 42-7 or 42-3 or something like that?
I don't remember exactly what your score was, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But Purdue's a really bad football team.
Yeah, they are.
Like really, really, really bad. I mean, I feel bad.
You said that last week. I said their best player is a tight end. Like, I tell you what,
they're a good team. I picked them to win 45-10.
I did. Here's one thing that they did do that I thought was interesting. So Ohio State tried this new thing. They tried the 3 down linemen, and they like left a bubble open, and Purdue was attacking this bubble, the open bubble. And I thought that was interesting. I wonder why. I know they were just probably trying to see if they could be effective with it, but they quickly got out of that. And like, I'm talking like after like the first quarter, they stopped doing that. But it was interesting. I wonder what made them want to try that. Just 3 down linemen with 2 open sides. To me, I didn't really like them doing that. And Purdue did a really good job of helping them be like, hey, yeah, that ain't it. And they got up out of that. But I'll tell you what, after the game, one of the most controversial things happened after the game, which I didn't know about till a couple of days ago. So CJ Hicks is this linebacker that plays at Ohio State, highly recruited guy. And he was asked about the game. And out of frustration, I guess, he says he needs to be on the bleeping edge. They keep trying to make him play traditional linebacker, and he wants to just rush the passer. And that blew up. Do you think Ohio State, because I think this is something that's happened in the past, do you think Ohio State is not putting guys in the right position? Or why do you think, because it's not like their pass rush is elite like that, why do you think they won't allow him to rush the passer? I've been trying to figure that out.
And who are you talking about in terms of rushing the passer?
CJ Hicks.
Okay. It's a great question. I mean, the one thing I was, reading and looking at this past weekend was this, like you just said, the 3 down linemen. So it becomes a 3-3-5 defense, essentially, right?
Yep.
And so they're trying to utilize that like jack linebacker position that, like you're talking about, the defensive end, outside backer, and they're trying to create pressure, right? I mean, that's something that they're trying to do. You said it. They didn't have great results. Didn't have bad results. It was just kind of indifferent. But who's the other guy they were using? Mitchell Melton.
Yep.
Mitchell Melton. He was in there too. Dude, I wish I had an answer.
I want to know why. How did we go from being unbelievable at rushing the pass? We used to have great pass rush, and it wasn't just Joey, Nick, and Chase. Like, you had Sam Hubbard, you had Tyquan Lewis, you had Jalen Holmes. It was guys that also they might have not been the guy, but they still presented a ton of pressure to the point where, like, I just don't understand. Like, why can't they do it? Like, what's going on? Like, how it's not a problem until it's a problem.
Right. And it could become a problem, in the next 2 weeks, because Ohio State's going to face clearly the toughest task of the year, and that's the Hoosiers. So
say that.
I don't know, man. They better figure it out like today, because it's going to be a challenge against Indiana. And I know that game never looked like it was going to be a game on paper before the season began, but it's turned into what may be it probably is the toughest game of the year, even after the Penn State game. Because Michigan's not. We saw what Michigan did against Indiana. I know they sort of came back late, but I mean, Indiana's a legitimate team.
Well, we'll talk about that next week, but I'm cool. I think the Buckeyes kind of run away with that one, and I'll explain next week what I mean by that. But looking into this week, obviously they get a chance to play at Wrigley Field. It's an iconic field. I know Bull will be excited. Bull better watch. He better watch this game because they're playing at his favorite baseball team stadium. Have you ever played in a baseball stadium? When you was in the league?
No,
you never really? I did.
No.
I did.
Well, I mean, I guess technically it was the Metrodome in Minneapolis was before they tore it down. That's where the Twins played before they built Target Field, and obviously the Vikings now have US Bank. So yeah, that was the closest thing probably to it. Playing on a baseball field.
I played
correction. I played in San Francisco before they got their before Levi's was built.
The Candlestick.
Yep.
Yeah. I did. Well, they didn't. When I got to San Francisco, they was already in Santa Clara. They was at Levi's. But when I played my rookie season at Seattle, we played the Raiders in the preseason. And the Raiders shared with the A's, and I guess they share with the A's. I don't know, whatever the case may be, whatever their situation was, the
Oakland A's and Oakland Raiders played in the same field. I've been there.
All right,
I did sidelines for the Browns on that field with the baseball diamond on the field.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I played with the diamond on the field because in the preseason, baseball season is still going on, so they leave the field. So the funniest thing was, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, all the people like, I'm telling you right now, don't fall on that dirt. Don't fall on that dirt because it's gonna rip your skin. You're gonna have like white meat showing and stuff. So I remember like when we was trying to make tackles and stuff, everybody was trying to fall like properly. You see running backs like, no, I ain't going down on this dirt. So that was my only that was my only wild experience. But obviously this game, they're not going to be. Have you seen pictures of the stadium, what it looks like?
I've seen not Wrigley's design. I've seen it before. It's a weird sort of setup because baseball stadiums, where the diamond's at and where the bleachers and stands are at, it's unique to baseball. So to have it be a football design, you have to. The seating's weird. Like there's not a lot of great seats for the game. That's why tickets are so expensive. If you go on like any of the aftermarket sites and look for tickets, they're really, really expensive because all the seats kind of have an obstructed view of some sort. So it's a little bit unique. But the biggest thing about this game, man, is not that they're playing on a baseball field, but it's where they're playing, right? They're playing at Wrigley Field in Chicago on a, it's not a temporary surface, but I mean, they're putting in obviously a field for the game. So we don't know how that's going to hold up. You don't know what the weather's going to be, right? That to me is the biggest concern, and the ultimate like equalizer is the weather. In a situation like this. I haven't looked. What's that? I'm sorry, partner.
It better not be bad. I gotta go out there. Let me see the weather.
Well, and the other thing is, I'm not sure if you remember
58 and cloudy.
Yeah, when was it? Was it like back when CJ was playing? Did they play there the one time?
It was terrible. The weather was terrible.
And Stroud couldn't throw at all. The wind was so bad.
He was like 12 for 28 or something like that. It was terrible.
But he made a bunch of plays with his legs.
Yeah,
that's how Ohio State had won the game. But because that was nearly an upset. That was in 2022 when they were there. And Northwestern almost won that game.
Yeah. I'm not worried about it. I mean, listen, I've looked at Northwestern's tape. Obviously, I had to cover them. We went there, and I had to cover them again. They got the Jack Lausch kid at the quarterback position. He'll pose some threats because he's mobile, but the problem is he's not that accurate. So this game is one of those games that the pass rush can't get upfield. You can't give them any lanes. Now, he's made some throws here and there, but he is not consistent. I mean, he has games where he don't even throw for 100 yards. That's how bad he could be at times. And Ohio State's job is to do that, to make him look like that. Don't allow him to use his legs to extend plays. I worry about their playmakers. This Joseph Hyman kid has come along as a running back, but to me, between him and Cam Porter, those are the two running backs. They're not nobody that you should fear. They're not having like these big 100-yard games or anything like that. Where I think Northwestern is pretty good at is I do think their defense is solid. Now, would I say that?
Oh yeah, no, they're good.
I don't think that they corners can hang with our receivers. That's not what I'm saying. But their front seven, they do some stunts and some twists and things like that I think could cause some confusion, and they do a great job of getting to the quarterback. So the pressure will be there. If those corners can take away Will Howard's first read and make him hold that ball for just a second and a half to 2 seconds more, I think they could be, defensively, they can make some things happen. That's how they play complementary football. The only way that offense looks good is that defense has to force some type of turnover, and the offense can convert it into points right away. That, to me, is the only way they win games.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally fair. And for this to be an upset this weekend, I mean, they're gonna have to have everything go their way with the weather. Their defense is going to have to create turnovers. And offensively, like they're going to have to score more than field goals because you're not going to beat Ohio. You're not going to beat Ohio State the way that they beat. Like I watched Northwestern play after Northwestern play against Miami of Ohio. That was at their practice stadium, right? Their practice field, which is their stadium this year, and like they could barely score against Miami of Ohio. And nothing against them; they're a really good team, but this is Ohio State. It's a different level of competition, and I don't know. I actually watched Northwestern twice this year because two of their opponents, I was calling their games. I did a Duke game and then a Miami of Ohio game. So I wasn't impressed overly with Northwestern. Certainly that was earlier in the year. And
it ain't, trust me, much ain't changed because I say the same thing. I've covered them. The last time I covered them, they played Iowa. What was that? 2 or 3 weeks ago. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was there because it was Iowa versus Northwestern. We were covering Iowa, but I had to look at Northwestern because I had to talk about them too. And they don't have a playmaker. Like they supposed to have AJ Henning, this wide receiver. He came from the Wolverines. He was supposed to be good, but he's hit and miss. And like I say, the 2 running backs. Outside of that, there is nobody else that can hurt you on that team. And like I said, the only way that they win these games is if they defense get a pick in the territory or they force a fumble and right there in their own territory. Like that's how they win games, and that's how they're going to have to try to beat the Buckeyes. Even though they had an impressive showing against Purdue, they beat them in overtime 26-20, I think the score was. So yeah. They're coming off a bye week too, so they had extra prep time for Ohio State. So that's a couple of things. But what the funny thing about this game? Did you see that for halftime they go into the dugouts? They're not going like into the locker room. They're going to the dugouts.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that. Why? It's because the locker rooms are probably so far away, or
I don't know. I seen Ryan Day say like, yeah, we're not even going to the locker room for halftime. We're going into the dugout. So that to me tells you. I'll tell you what, a lot of people are not happy about this game. It is not a lot of people that is fans of this setup that they got going on here. So it should be a good game. Another thing that people aren't fans of, and I want to ask your opinion of this, is the Buckeyes is going to finish this season playing a noon game. I think it's like 6 weeks in a row that they're going to play noon games. How do you feel about that? And what time slot did you prefer when you played?
Noon. I like playing noon.
See, I did.
My favorite time slot by far.
So why do you? So do you think it's that big of an issue?
I don't know why everyone cares so much. Like,
well, they want the night games. They want.
Well, I understand
like from a recruiting standpoint, Ohio State can't get like recruits from Texas to come up here because it's too early. So like they're missing out on some of these recruits to see an actual game in the shoe because they're still doing high school football and things like that. And it's hard to get them to go from a high school football game Friday night to try to get them here by noon. Like you asking a lot. So they're missing out on top.
Yeah. The thing I've learned about college football fans in general is that they're always bitching about something, right? And it doesn't matter whether you play the final, 6 games in a row at noon, on Saturdays, or you play at night. Like if we played every night game, fans would be bitching about, God, I'm up too late. I miss church on Sunday because I'm up too late. Like whatever it is, there's going to be an excuse for everything.
Dustin,
you're never going to make everyone happy.
They played one night game in the shoe this year, and it was against who was it? Like the second, third week of the season. Who did they play? They played somebody at night. It
Was it Western Michigan?
No, that was a noon.
It was a dog game, though. It wasn't a great game. It was like, why are we playing this at night?
Let me see. They play.
It wasn't Marshall, was it?
It wasn't Akron. Wasn't Western. Was it Marshall? Maybe it was Western Michigan.
I got the schedule pulling up here.
I know they played Oregon at night, but that was at Oregon. Was Iowa that night? No, that was a nooner.
Michigan State was a night game, but that was on the road.
Yeah. So who did the heck did? So it was one of the first three games, then, right?
Akron was a day game for sure. It was either Western or Marshall.
Then maybe it was Western Michigan. Yeah,
because Iowa was not a night game.
No. But that's what I'm saying. Like,
pretty sure it's Western. But anyway,
that's your night game. Your one game night game in the shoe is Western Michigan. Like that sucks. That sucks. I'm not gonna lie. I would be upset.
I totally get it. Let's worry about winning the games. Like the scheduling, we have no control over. We understand that these television companies make the schedule based on their agreements with the conferences and with the universities. And yeah, not everything's perfect in terms of when they have the games. In fact, I tend to agree with a lot of fans. Like, you want to have a little bit of a change up. It'd be nice to have some 3:30 games in there. It'd be nice to have a night game against a rival, or whatever it may be. They're not going to change the Michigan game. It's always a noon game.
That's never going to happen. It happened one time. That happened one time, right? They did a 3:30 in like 06, right? 06, 07, something like that.
Something like that. I don't remember.
It was when Torrey was here. They did it like because they was like 1 and 2.
I don't remember that at all, actually. But my thing is, you understand when you're good and you're in the Big Ten, their big window is the Fox Big Noon kickoff. So
yes, so like, but the fans
I don't know. I mean, what do you want? Like, fans of the Cleveland Browns, like, they want to play with Romo and Jim Nantz calling the games. Okay, well, that game's going to be 4:00 every Sunday. That's the window. If you're the top game in the country or the league, well, you're the top game in the Big Ten. You're going to be at noon. But that's because you're good.
I'm just saying, one game.
I'm looking forward to it.
Which game do you want it to be at night? The Penn State game?
Well, that was at Penn State, though.
No, I understand, but I'm saying like the final two home games. Why couldn't
Iowa be at night?
Was that a Fox Big Noon kickoff? I think it was.
Fox, basically what every fan is saying is that Fox Big Noon has just taken the Buckeye brand, and because they're trying to get the ratings, that they literally just keep going with the Buckeyes because they know that's going to get them ratings. That's what they say.
Well, the Buckeyes do bring in ratings. We know that.
Yes.
But you also got to think about, like, let's not.
Again, I don't have
let's not water down the games. Okay. I do think there should be some variety. Like, if I was an executive at Fox,
mm-hmm.
I would try to pay attention to what people are saying. And also, like, wouldn't you get tired of seeing the same team on your network at the same time every week? I mean, this isn't Notre Dame football on NBC. Okay. We get it. Every home game, NBC is going to have it, and it's a home broadcast. Sort of what Ohio State's become with the Fox Big Noon kickoff.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's a reason there's all this money in college football.
I don't have a problem with it at all. As a player, like I said, I'm with you. I prefer the noon games. I like to get up and get after. I do understand from a recruiting standpoint, though, how that can hurt a little bit, because you do want to get some. You do want to host some of these big time recruits that from a different state. So, like, they should be a little bit lenient to that. But Fox paid you the money, like. So you gotta do what you gotta do. Like if I'm looking at the schedule every week and I get first dibs on what game, I'm probably gonna roll with the Buckeyes game too. Like, that's because you guaranteed to get numbers. Like this whole thing is about ratings, and they're guaranteed to get you some ratings. So yeah, I'm not mad at them for that. It is what it is.
Right.
All right. Anyways, it's prediction time. What you got?
Prediction time.
I think we both were correct. We both said that they would cover the spread. What is the spread this game? The spread.
Do you have it? I can look it up.
I'm looking at it right. 30 points. No, 28 and a half. 28 and a half.
Ooh,
28
big hook
and
right
a half.
there. The
Buckeyes,
total is, oh my God, it's so crazy. The total is 44 and a half.
28 and a half. What you got?
I mean, the weather looks like 55 and sunny.
58 and cloudy.
So,
They on mine.
okay. I see a little intermittent clouds. But anyway, I would say Ohio State covers that spread. I think it's a 42-7.
42-7. I like that number. I'm gonna go a little bit less. I'm gonna say that just to get some kicking work in, they kick a field goal in this game. The Buckeye win 38-3. That's my guess. 38-3. So they 100% cover.
And 30. The under. So the Buckeyes cover and the under hits.
Yeah. You know why? Because I think they're gonna run the ball a lot. Like I think they want to establish the run.
That'd be
game.
nice to see.
Yeah. So I think they're gonna spend a lot of time.
The only thing I'd say about this game, Tyvis, and I'm curious your thoughts because you're there in Columbus, is like I don't think in the past Ohio State would look past any opponent. Certainly when you're playing Indiana the following week, but now that Indiana's gotten all the love and they're 9-0, do you think there's a chance that Ohio State could be potentially looking ahead? I certainly hope that they're not.
Is there a chance? It's always a chance for everything. Are they? No, absolutely not. Because I think that the thing is what I like about this team is they're good, but they're not great at everything. Like there's always something that needs to be fixed. So therefore, you got no choice but to lock in, especially when it's your position. Like corners, right. like Denzel, he still got beat last week on the deep ball. IGB, he's still grabbing receivers and getting holding in DPIs. The run game, yeah, Trevion has some good stuff, but I don't think he had 100 yards. So like there's Will Howard still hasn't consistently hit a deep ball down the field. So there's things there that you still got to lock in for, and you can accomplish a lot of those goals against a Northwestern team. So to me, I feel like that's why I think they'll still be locked in because there's still things that they got to fix.
All right. Well, I think they're going to take care of business this weekend, and then we're going to have a hell of a matchup, have a hell of a podcast next week to talk about the big game against the Hoosiers.
And with that being said, we will holler at y'all next week. We appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and we'll see y'all when we see you. Peace.